us a bit about how ReStart Romania started in the first place?
We were looking at ways to engage programmers in Romania, so to leverage the massive human resource pool, the human capital base that is in this country. Lots and lots of young programmers, excited, talented people who are looking to engage outside of their regular daily job. The challenge model is something that TechSoup has been doing for years, but on a global scale, on a very big idea scale. Challenge to us looked like an opportunity then, this competition, this open competition of generating ideas to both find ways to demonstrate to civil society the value of technology and social change and engage that programmer pool. If we could localize it, if we could make it just about Romania and just about particular issues in Romania. So we'd been thinking about it for a while, and then in December 2010, I had a meeting with the US ambassador here, and I was essentially looking for him to promote TechSoup Romania, talk about us. And he said, okay, but talk about what? And I said, well, these are the different things we do. And I explained challenges, and he said, that's what we're going to do. Let's make that happen. So in large part, it was serendipity to get somebody like that who was excited to work with us, and all the pieces fell into place.
When you started ReStart Romania, were there any major hiccups that you ran into?
There were lots of things that we were afraid of. There were certainly many points along the way in which ReStart Romania could have failed. This is a very new model for the country. It was then, anyway. Open challenges, open grant writing. For instance, in general here, if you want to get money from somebody, you write an application, you put it in an envelope, you put it in the mail, you never see who's on the other side. You don't talk about it, you don't debate it, there's no dialogue about what might make that better. ReStart is the opposite. It's a very massive public campaign where people put out an idea to hundreds of thousands of their peers to see it, talk about it, challenge it, debate it, discuss it, make it better. Maybe they just quit because they're frustrated, whatever, but it's an open process. Totally new, and in a country where civil society hasn't really played that way. That was an easy way for it to fail. So maybe no one would do it because the model was crazy. Maybe no one would do it because they didn't care. Maybe no one would do it because we were talking about the wrong things. Maybe they wouldn't critique projects and make them better. Maybe they would have no clue about technology. There were so many ways in which it could have failed. Thankfully it didn't. We ended up getting 144, 145 ideas. And most of those were really on topic, were really excellent ideas about ways to leverage technology for social change. I'm glad that was the case and that it didn't really fail. We've had some challenges over time keeping up with our own technologies, but really most of the external factors that we were afraid of didn't pan out. And I think one reason for that is there's so much hope in Romania around technology. There's so much hope in this region around technology. I joke that go ask any grandmother about their grandson or granddaughter and, do they know how to use a computer? More than that. It's not just that they know how to use it, they know how to hack NASA and all these sorts of good things. And occasionally that does happen here. But there's a belief in this country that it's a belief and a pride in the ability to use new technologies. And we took that pride and we put it in the Colosseum, in the boxing ring, in direct conflict with some of the most pressing challenges around transparency, accountability, anti-corruption. Some of the best that people are proud of and some of the worst that they're not. See what happens. And I think fundamentally that's why it was successful in the end. We were taking something that people are very frustrated about and putting it into direct contact with something where they have hope. And it kind of worked, I guess.
Can you nominate one big revelation that you had during the first ReStart Romania?
Well, I think one of the things that made me proudest, when people ask, what does ReStart mean to you? To me, it's about the opportunity to engage non-traditional leaders in a social change dialogue. Civil society in this region, with a few wonderful examples to the contrary, has a lot of ivory tower to it. It's a lot of civil society talking to civil society about civil society and not really engaging citizens in dialogue, not finding new allies in social change, and as a result can be quite insular sometimes. I believe that civil society without a citizen mandate, without people, is neither really civil nor social, and fundamentally not really the point. And I wanted to see, through this process of mass online campaigning, where we knew we would hit hundreds of thousands of people, would we find people on stage at the end who had never done this before? And the answer was yes. I think, regardless of the platform or the technology or the concept, in terms of the restarters we had, some of the most exciting were Razvan and Monica. They're both in their late 40s. She used to work in data, but now is a stay-at-home mom. And Razvan sells washing machines. They are not the people that we look to for social change. But they were angry when it started. They had an idea. 10, 12 weeks later, they're on stage amongst longtime civil activists, people who really live and breathe this stuff as peers, as equals, out to change Romania. That's really what ReStart's about.
This year, ReStart is happening in 3 countries in Europe. How is that working out?
It's different. It's different because the topic is still transparency and accountability. And the dialogue about transparency and accountability is quite different in each of these countries, as is the state of development of civil society. When we started this last year in Romania, there were not a lot of good examples that you could point to say, look at that app, or look at that platform, or look at that website that is approaching engaging citizens in social change work through the web. Really very, very few. There were some blogs that had a lot of traffic, for instance, and that's great. But in terms of crowd reporting around bribery or mapping deforestation, these sorts of things, really they weren't out there. That's not true in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. They have platforms. They have people who've been doing this for years. They have social change agents, civil society people, media people who really do rely on technology in their daily work. So it's different in countries where this isn't so new, and we're seeing applications from people who have an existing platform but want to improve it. We're seeing new players, but it's the dialogue is different because the market is more mature. The same as, I think, in some ways, how they approach corruption, for instance. That's an obvious one. Looking at the scale and scope of corruption, is it personal still? Not really in those countries. It's a lot more institutionalized. It's not about somebody asking you for a bribe in the hospital necessarily. It's about someone screwing with public procurement funds in an EU contract. So the dialogue is different. The issues are still very relevant. It's just how you approach them is going to be fundamentally a different way.
How long have you been in Romania?
I've been in Romania 6.5 years.
When you will go, what do you take with you?
That's a very good question. When I leave Romania, I will take a lot of learning. I think it's going to take a long time to understand what I've learned here, but I've built 2 organizations now, and I think before I came to Romania, I was playing in social change in easy places in the US where it wasn't easy in terms of, you still had to fundraise and you still had to go build mandates and build constituencies and all those good things. But it was much safer. It was much more understood and natural. And I think a lot of what I take away is the responsibility of when you start doing that for an organization. When you look around one day and you're like, man, there are like 5 people here who need to be fed. It's changed very much kind of my depth of appreciation, understanding, and passion for this work, that it's not just playing around necessarily in safe environments, but if you want to make these things happen institutionally, then you start playing institutionally. And yeah, I've just grown up a lot here. I've grown up a lot through these processes, and it's been a wonderful place to learn because there are so many things to work on. So many challenges in building trust. So.
Indeed. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
you.